Hello, so I'm here with a new knitting project, and this time I'm gonna be trying a scarf. I'm not an expert at knitting, so this is gonna be a slight bit of a challenge for me, but I think I can handle it. I have picked quite an easy stitch to get through this project, so let's see how it goes. The stitch that I'll be using for my scarf will be broken rib stitch, which is just two lines. One is knit and one is purl, knit, purl. And the only thing that is important is that I cast on an odd number of stitches. So I think I will go with 37. And I will probably work the borders in a little bit of a garter to prevent it from curling. I'm taking a smaller needle while casting on the stitches to ensure that they are a little bit more elastic. I'm casting on, leave enough tail, make a slip knot. This is how I cast it. The tail is this side and the main yarn is here. So I go from the bottom, pick up the main yarn, and then just pull it through like that. From the bottom on this, pick up main yarn and then pull it through the hole. Okay, we have all our stitches cast on. This is where I can now remove this needle and take the right size needle to work with. I want a 4-row border from either side of garter stitch, so I will start with 4 rows of just knitting. So I actually did a little bit more. I think I did 5 rows in just knit, and now I'll start my pattern. I just felt like 4 was just teensy bit too little for the edge that I wanted. So this I think will work just fine. And now I also will garter stitch the first 4 on each side of my knitting project. Since my pattern includes the first line to have all stitches knit, so I really only have to knit also the stitches that fall into the pattern. This line, first 4 stitches we knit for the garter stitch. And this is where we have to start our pattern. So the pattern will be from this stitch on till the stitch that is before the last 4s. And this pattern will be purl, knit, purl, knit. Purl, knit. Purl, knit. Purl, knit. We finish with purl, the pattern, and the last 4 will be for garter stitch, so these we knit. And that's it, opposite side. We need the 4 for the garter, then we need to knit the whole pattern, and then 4 for the garter, so we just need to knit all of them. this is the left side, again 4 garter, then we do the pearl knit pearl pattern and then finish with 4 garter. And that's it for the pattern. It's really too early to show right now, so I will make a few rows and then I'll come back here to show exactly what it looks like. But you probably already have an idea. It's going to be little stripes on this side, and on the left side it's going to be little bumps like that. It's been a little while, I did a few rows, and now you can really see the full pattern, how it's gonna turn out. And I think it's gonna go great. And I guess it's a bonus in my book. One side has these beautiful lines, and the other side has cute little bumps. So whichever side really appeals to you better. So I'll keep knitting, and I'll check back with you in a while once I'll have more done. Hello, it's 2 days later and I have knit this much of my scarf. It's a good piece. Unfortunately, however, when I pick it up, it sort of warps up like that. And I really don't like it, so I went to the store and bought thicker needles. I thought maybe loosening up my knitting might make it curl up less, so I will not disassemble this just in case this is as good as it gets, but I will try starting anew with these needles to see if it probably fixes that problem. I seem to have picked pretty bad needles up because they don't really slide as easy. I think they are just plastic. Can you hear this? You can almost hear that rubbery kind of sound. The suggested needle size for this yarn, by the way, was number 8. I used 7 previously and these are number 10. So these are slightly smaller and these are way bigger than was suggested on the yarn. I've been busy. Look how much I've done. I finished a whole skein of yarn, and yeah, I have a pretty good amount here, and this new stretch also works quite a lot better. The fabric seems to be quite a little looser, which is what I wanted in the first place. It still curls up a little bit, but if I lay it flat, it definitely stays that way much better. One issue that I did run into a couple of times was that I had miscounted the knits and purls on the other side. It happens quite easily when you're watching TV or speaking to somebody. At least twice that I remember, I had to pull apart a few rows, and I think the hardest part is not knitting it again. The hardest part for me was picking up the dropped stitches. That's quite difficult because it's easy for them to unravel even farther. Now that I've run through the yarn, I really have to join another piece, and I think I will use this yarn from the previous one that was a little too tight for my liking. This is much stiffer, so I think I will take the yarn from here and just connect it over there. It seems to be similar shade. To connect the yarn, I will use the invisible knot technique, so you can follow me and copy me on that, because that's a beautiful knot that will not be visible in the final project. So let's do the invisible knot. Here I have the yarn from my project, and here is the yarn that I want to connect. To connect, we will have to make a sliding knot, so wrap around and insert it from the bottom up here and pull it closed, and the same on this side. and wrap around and insert it here to make a knot. Pull it closed tightly. Now that we have that done, we just pull on it, and the knot is secured on either side, so we really don't need these tails. I like to pull on it quite a bit to make sure it's really strong, and then we can cut these tails very close to the knot. Tugging, checking if it's secure. So this should blend in quite well in here. Okay, that's my knot over there. And my knot is right over here. But in the larger picture it's really not noticeable at all. So now I will simply finish off the scarf. I'm thinking maybe another day or two and I will be done with it. I'm starting to run out of yarn, so the safer thing to do will be to finish off the scarf just like we started, with 5 rows of knitting to make the garter stitch edge. Now that I have my scarf knit and the garter stitch edge finished, all that's left to do is to cast off the stitches. To cast off, knit to have 2 on the needle and pull over the right over the left. Then again knit 1 and pull it over. I have finished casting off the stitches and this is how the edge looks. The last one I pulled through itself to form some sort of a knot, and now the only thing left to do is to weave this end within the scarf. And to weave it in, I kind of try to find the places where I think it's going to be the least visible. Let's call that a day. Snip that off. And that's it. Honestly, if you didn't know what you're looking for, you probably wouldn't notice. This is my scarf. It is really long. I used 2 full skeins of yarn. I think it's well over probably even 2 meters, which is about 80 inches. It still curls, unfortunately, but the fabric is nice and floppy, just like you would want it for a scarf. So I don't think there's much I can do. Experts here can help me figure out why this happened, or maybe I just chose the wrong stitch to do this. Another thing that I would strongly not encourage is to buy the needles from Walmart, because these thicker needles, they happen to be quite plasticky. I think they're hollow inside. And all through this project, I really felt that the yarn is sticking to these needles, which really made it really hard. These skinnier needles, they're also from Walmart. They seem to be metal and they are fine, but these thicker ones are not.
Through this project, I really realized how much of a beginner I am because I still have no clue about why is it curling. And honestly, I took much too long time to get this finished. I think it took me about 6 days total to get this one finished, but if I include the pieces that I started, that I figured that they're just too dense, yeah, that's another few days. Probably not the best idea to knit a scarf in January, early February, when the weather's already starting to warm up, or at least show the signs of spring. But it's gonna be a nice one for next year for me.